Abba Father, you're welcome to this Friday as we continue our discussion from Psalm 23. And today we are talking about the valley of the shadow of death. I know many of you have been waiting for this one. So today we are jumping right in. In Psalm 23, verse 1 to 3, we read this. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. If you notice something common about these first three verses, David is talking about the Lord being his shepherd. And he's talking about it's like there's somebody else that David is talking to about the Lord. And he's saying, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He does this for me. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. David is praising his shepherd. He's talking about how awesome his shepherd is and the wonderful things that his shepherd does for him. However, when we reach verse 4 and the downer verses, you notice then that David now switches from talking to somebody about Yahweh, his shepherd, and what the shepherd does for him. Now it's like he's addressing his shepherd directly, face to face, one-on-one. He's no longer talking to a third party about the shepherd. It's now him talking to his shepherd directly. So you notice that he stops using he and he starts using you. So if you see in Psalm 23 verse 4, he says, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. David is now addressing his shepherd Yahweh. He's focusing on his shepherd because of what is going. We are going to see what is going to talk about now from this point onwards. The situation, because of the situation that is going through, which we talked about earlier, which is the fact that Absalom, his son, has overthrown him. He has turned his people away from him. He has stolen his kingdom. He has overthrown him and he wants to kill him. And so David is in this precarious situation. And of course, the physical circumstances are saying something. His own personal feelings are also saying something, but he's choosing a greater reality. So we are going to see how this dynamic works of him now speaking personally, face to face with Yahweh. But before we get there, let's just dissect this verse a little bit. It says here, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Even though I walk through the valley. I want to speak about valley first of all. What is a valley? A valley is a depression. A valley is a low place that is surrounded by mountains or surrounded by hills. A valley is this depression that is enclosed on all sides by whether it's a mountain, whether it's a hill, whether it's some sort of raised ground that encloses this valley. This is what a valley is. It is a place of abandonment. It is a place of aloneness. It is a place of darkness. It is a place of fear. A valley is a place that is walled off, cut off from light. A valley is cut off because when the sun sets or when the sun is low, you see in the valley that on every side you are blocked. If the sun is this side, you are blocked. If it's this side, you are blocked. The valley is walled off. It is enclosed. It is blocked. This word for valley that he uses here also has another meaning. It means to be within or inside something. And so David is not outside observing the valley. He's not outside observing this valley situation. He's saying, I am inside this valley. I am within this valley. What I am going through could be described as a valley. I feel walled off. I feel disconnected. I feel cut off from light. I feel surrounded by insurmountable walls. I feel that I'm in this place where I have been enclosed off, cut off, in trouble. You know, David is in I think sometimes when we're reading Psalm 23, or even the story of in 1 Samuel with Absalom, we sometimes don't pay attention to why this is such a dangerous situation that David is in, or a heartbreaking situation. Remember that David is a refugee. In just one day, in just hours, he went to bed as king, wakes up and has to flee. In just hours, he has to flee his capital. He has to flee his house. He has to flee from his kingdom. He has to flee from his own people that he loved, that he cared for, that he fought for. He has to flee, because if he does not, he's going to lose his life. And he's now a refugee. You know, not only that, but if Absalom succeeds in taking over and establishing himself, there's something that needs to happen, which was their way of working in that part of the world, is that when you became king, one of the very first things you did was eliminate all competition. You had to kill everybody who had a claim on your throne. So many times when somebody would become king, they would kill all of their brothers, because their brothers also had claim to their throne. So David and Absalom are in this situation where one of them has to die. If David, if you look at it from how their context was, David only has two options. He either has to kill Absalom and secure himself and his other sons, or Absalom is, or he has to flee, and not just flee in Israel, but he has to get out of Israel, basically, because if he stays within the land, that kingdom, then Absalom is going to hunt him for the rest of his life until he kills him. There cannot be two kings in the same kingdom. One will have to die. So you enter into David's mind. This is a parent. This is a father. This is his son. It's not just some random child, some random guy that came and overthrew him. This is his own blood. And David has this difficult choice. He has to kill his own son, or his son will kill him and his other sons. Either David kills Absalom, or Absalom will kill David and all of David's sons, his brothers, because this is the way that their world worked. So can you imagine what kind of anguish is going on in David's heart? Can you imagine what kind of pain he is having to deal with? This is why he's calling this the valley of the shadow of death. He's in a very difficult situation. He's in a very difficult time. He loves his son, but he has to deal with this. That's why even when he sends Joab and the army to fight, he pleads with them. He pleads with Joab, please have mercy on the young man for my sake. Because David understands, though he's trying to run away from this reality, he understands that the only way that this gets solved is Absalom is killed. First, he has committed treason. He has overthrown the king. But not only that, if Absalom stays alive, he's going to come after me and his brothers. So we must kill him. And David has to deal with that, this valley, this place of being cut off. He's describing this situation that many of us go through, where we are in this thing where we feel disconnected. We feel cut off from light. We feel cut off from life. We feel like we are dying. We are dead. We can't. There's no rescue. There's no option. We are finished. And we are in this really, really difficult situation. And then it says, the valley of the shadow of death. And this word for shadow of death is an interesting word. It's just one word. Though here we're saying three words, it's just one word. And it's a compound word. And it is made of two words. The first word is the word for shadow. The second word is the word for death. However, when you combine them, the word that you get out is not really emphasizing death. These words are not equal in this combination. It's emphasizing the shadow or the darkness. This word is used to refer more to something being dark than something being death. So it is a valley of the shadow of death. It is not death shadow. And this word can be translated as a death, as a deep shadow, as a thick darkness, as a deep gloom, as a deep darkness. It describes the darkness of death itself. Job speaks about it in Job 10, in verse 20 to 22. He says, "Are not my days few? Then cease, and rather, are not my days few? Then cease and leave me alone, that I may find a little cheer before I go," that's before I die, "and I shall not return to the land of darkness and deep shadow, the land of gloom like thick darkness." See what's describing this land of darkness and deep shadow, the land of gloom, like thick darkness, like deep shadow, without any order, where light is as thick as darkness. This is what David is saying. Rather, Job is talking about this place of, imagine a darkness where if you put light, it is as thick as darkness. A place where the darkness is tangible. A place where it is so dark. And this is what David is referring to. What is going through is this tangible darkness. This word was used to describe the physical darkness. In fact, here's a good example. When you read the plagues that God sent Moses to deliver to Egypt and Pharaoh, one of those plagues was the plague of darkness, where they had so much darkness that one could not see their hand in front of him. A darkness that even put out the light, that overwhelmed the light. A darkness that was tangible, that one could feel. This terrifying darkness. That's again the same word that is used there to describe that darkness, which was so strong and so thick that you could feel it. That kind of darkness. But it's also, this word can also describe the darkness of a heart or a mind that has no hope, that is full of fear. An inner state, a spiritual darkness that one enters into and they cannot come out of. It's so dark. This word also describes the darkness of eyelids. In other words, when eyelids are so heavy because one has been crying or weeping for a long time and they can't weep anymore. They've run out of tears and their eyes are so heavy they just close their eyes because they can't muster enough strength to open their eyes. That kind of darkness, that kind of evilness. This is what this is describing. It's talking about this darkness that was at the beginning, before light, before God created light, before God said, "Let there be light" in Genesis. There was a darkness, that kind of darkness that existed before light was made. Can you imagine that kind of unfathomable darkness, that hopelessness, that despair? A darkness that is filled with danger, a dangerous valley. All of this, I'm just trying to describe this word that he uses when he says the valley of the shadow of death. This word for shadow of death is with just one word. And this is talking about this great darkness, this tangible darkness, this deep darkness, a darkness that can be felt, a darkness that one cannot run away from, a darkness that stops everything moving forward, a deep darkness. But after describing all of that and saying this is literally what David is going through, this is the heaviness that is upon him because of what he's going through, the fact that he needs to face the fact that he's going to lose a son. If it's not Absalom, it's going to be all of his other children. So he has to kill Absalom. And David is dealing with this in this place. It's not just about him losing his kingdom and his palaces and his thrones. I think sometimes we don't actually focus on what's important, which is that, fine, he has lost those things, but the only way this gets solved is either Absalom dies or David and the rest of them and the rest of his boys die. And as a father, a loving father, is having to deal with this pain in this deep darkness, this deep gloom. But then what is also really interesting and that I love is the fact that this word here for the shadow of death, it's a shadow. The word there means a shadow, a distortion. It's talking of something not being real. It's talking of something being a shadow. And in English, you can understand that that's just a shadow. It's not the real substance. This is not the valley of death. If you ever find a translation which says that it calls it the valley of death, that's a wrong interpretation. It's the valley of the shadow of death. However dark the shadow is, it is just a shadow. And I'm telling you, Christian, however dark your situation is, the Bible describes it as a shadow. If the doctor says you are dying next week, it's a shadow. It does not have substance. It cannot do anything to you unless you consent and cooperate with it. But if you resist it, it's just a shadow. It has to flee when he who is light is unleashed in this situation. It's just however scary a shadow is, ultimately it's just a shadow. A shadow does not have the ability, it does not have the substance, it does not have the power to accomplish what it threatens. It's just a shadow. Shadows don't bite. A shadow of a dog cannot bite you. It's just a what? A shadow. And our situations are these, they are shadows. The sickness and disease is a shadow. Poverty is a shadow. Failure is a shadow. The truth is, it cannot do anything to you. It has only one option. The moment the light, he who is light, that is Christ, the moment he's introduced or unleashed in this moment, this shadow, however dark, however deep, however scary, the shadow has to move. Why? Because of he who is light. And then it says this, that he began by saying, even though I walk through. I want to have this part, walk through. We are talking about walking through this valley. We do not live in the valley of the shadow of death. We do not stay in the valley of the shadow of death. We do not meno, we do not abide in the valley of the shadow of death. We do not camp in this valley of the shadow of death. We are walking through this valley of the shadow of death. When the shepherd is leading the sheep through, they're just walking this path. Remember this circular path we talked of last week? So this path is going through the valley. And so the shepherd walks his sheep through this valley. The shepherd does not camp in the valley with the sheep. The shepherd does not tell the sheep, okay, let's first stay here for tonight. No, they walk through. They walk through the valley. They go through the valley. Now here's the other interesting thing. Notice it says we walk through. We do not run through the valley. It's not like we are running in chaos, scared, scattering, panic. No, we walk through. Calmly, we follow our shepherd through the valley. There's a methodical way that we are getting out of here. The idea is that we are getting out. But not just getting out, we are getting out by walking through. We are not running through. We are not terrified because they have given you bad news, because you've had something bad, because you're in trouble. We are not terrified. We are walking through calmly. We are walking through measured. Because why should the sheep calm down and relax in the valley of the shadow of death? Because of the shepherd. It's about the shepherd, as we shall find out later in the next teaching. We shall talk about this in the next class. But it's about the shepherd and his ability to lead his sheep through, to protect them while he's leading them through. The shepherd has a rod, a club, and he has a staff to take care. He has weapons of warfare to fight for his sheep and deliver them safely through this valley of the shadow of death. This is why we do not panic, we do not walk through. But let me say something here that is also interesting. Notice that we do not fly. We do not suddenly disappear out of the valley of the shadow of death. So many times when we get in trouble, so many times when something comes upon us, or we get an attack, or we are in debt, or they're foreclosing, or you're sick, or something like that, so many times we just wish that we could just fly and disappear. You just wish that I wish tomorrow I'd wake up and all of this is gone. No. And you notice that has never happened. It has never happened. Why? Because the shepherd will walk us through methodically, slowly by slowly, as we trust him. Guaranteed 100% that the shepherd will bring us out. but he will lead us out as we follow him. The only way out is through. We don't jump out of the valley of the shadow of death. We don't fly out of this valley of the shadow of death. We follow the shepherd and he leads us out. It's guaranteed that we are getting out because we have the best shepherd in the world. He has enough. Listen to me. The shepherd has led for decades. He has led thousands, millions, billions of sheep out of this. You are not going to be the first sheep that he cannot lead out of this valley of the shadow of death. The shepherd is old enough. He's the ancient of days. He has been around for so long that he knows exactly what this valley of the shadow of death is about and how to bring you out. But not only has he been here a long time, the shepherd is experienced enough. He knows how to bring you out of this valley of the shadow of death that you are in. 3, the shepherd is powerful enough. He has enough ability, enough power, enough resources, enough life, enough light, enough angelic force to bring you out of this valley of the shadow of death safely. He is well equipped to deliver you. So you do not have a cause to panic, to just want to fly out. You can trust the shepherd to bring you out. You can trust the shepherd to lead you out safely because he has done it a billion times before with enough power, with enough wisdom. He is wise enough to know what to do at this moment to bring you out. And you know, many times when we are in this shadow of death, when we are dealing with serious stuff, one of the best things we can do is to slow down and ask our shepherd what to do. So we are quick to run to these solutions. We're checking this on YouTube, something we read in a book, whatever somebody said, and we are looking for all these solutions. And we ignore the shepherd and the fact that the shepherd is the solution that we need. We can trust the shepherd to bring us out. We can trust the shepherd to lead us out. We can trust the shepherd. We can trust the shepherd to deliver us out of this situation and out of this trouble, you know. So the best thing that you can do many times is simply to calm down. After you've been given this news, calm down and then talk to the shepherd because he knows what to do. You're not the first person in this situation. You know that's so liberating? The fact that you're not the first person in this situation and you're not the only person in this situation. And this is what the devil will always try to lie to you about. The devil will always try to persuade you that you are the only one going through this. Nobody can understand what you're going through. Nobody has been where you've been. That's not true. That's a lie. That's a lie. Right now, there are thousands, there are millions of people going through what you're going through. There are millions of people experiencing what you're experiencing right now. There are millions of people that have been there and that have been delivered and that are being delivered right now. And that same God who is delivering them right now is inside you. That same shepherd who has delivered 1,000 sheep to the other side is in you right now. He's with you right now, delivering you too out of this trouble. So we trust him, our shepherd. We listen to him. We follow him, and he walks us out of this peacefully. He walks us out kindly. He leads us out wisely and safely. We get to the other side safe and sound because we can trust our shepherd. Now here in Psalm 107, let's look at some verses here about him delivering people, the shepherd delivering his people, his sheep out of trouble. In Psalm 107, in verse 13 to verse 15, it says this. Then it's talking about Israel coming out of Egypt and how they came out of that when they were in the deep darkness. He delivered them. It says this. Then they cried to the Lord in their trouble, and he delivered them from their distress. He brought them out of darkness and the shadow of death. This is what he does very well. He brings us out of darkness and the shadow of death. He's very qualified. He's very experienced. He's very well equipped to bring them out of darkness and the shadow of death, and burst their bonds apart. Let them thank the Lord for his steadfast love, for his wondrous works to the children of man. Another verse here in Jeremiah chapter 2, in verse 5 to 7, this is God complaining and saying, "Thus says the Lord, what wrong did your fathers find in me, that they went far from me?" God is saying, what did I do to you for you to forsake me, for your fathers to leave me? And they went after worthlessness or vanity and became vain. They became worthless. They did not say, this is the mistake they made. And this is the mistake many of us make in trouble. They did not say, where is the Lord who brought us up from the land of Egypt, who led us in the wilderness? Remember what you're talking about? The shepherd leading us through the wilderness. In a land of deserts and pits, in a land of drought and deep darkness. That word deep darkness is the shadow of death. In a land that none passes through, where no man dwells. And I brought you into a plentiful land to enjoy its fruits and its good things. This God of yours, this shepherd of yours, this is his track record. This is his history. This is what he has done. This is his pedigree, that he brings people out of deep darkness. He brought this Israel out of deep darkness. And he's saying, but then he says here, but when you came in, you defiled my land and made my heritage, my inheritance, an abomination. And he's saying, why didn't you ask me? Why didn't you look for me? When people are in trouble, we forget about the Lord. And say, but I've delivered you 1,000 times. Whenever you're in trouble, remember me. Remember to get it, to contact, to connect, to get in touch with the one who has delivered you from the valley of the shadow of death several times. In Luke chapter 1, in verse 17, Luke 1:76 to 79, this is Hezekiah, the father of John the Baptist, and he's praising the Lord. And this is after his mouth has been opened, and he's praising the Lord and giving glory to God for his mouth being open. This is in Luke chapter 1. Luke chapter 1. This is Zechariah. Did I say Zechariah? No, Zechariah, the father of John the Baptist. And this is what it says here. He's blessing his son. Remember that he has been deaf. He could not speak for a long time because he had doubted what the angel said to him. So the angel struck him with deafness so that he would not talk his nonsense and sabotage what God wanted to do. But once John the Baptist is born, and there's no need for his mouth to be shut, it opens. And then he immediately starts prophesying and blessing. And so he blesses John and says, and you, child, shall be called the prophet of the highest, for you shall go before the face of the Lord to prepare his ways. He's saying that John will come before Christ to prepare his ways. And then he says, to give knowledge of salvation unto his people by the remission of their sins, through the tender mercy of our God, whereby the day spring from on high has visited us, to give light to them that sit in darkness and in the shadow of death, to guide our feet into the way of peace. This is what Jesus came to do, to give light to them that sit in darkness and the shadow of death, to guide our feet into the way of peace. And this was also the ministry of John, who was Jesus' cousin, to come and do this and guide us and lead us out of the shadow of death, out of this deep darkness. In Isaiah 9:2, it says, the people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who dwelt in a land of deep darkness, the shadow of death, on them has light shone. Which light is this? Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon you. Isaiah 40 says, and this light who has come is Jesus himself. In Isaiah 42:16 it says, and I will lead the blind In a way that they do not know, in parts that they have not known, I will guide them. Who are these blind? His sheep. By the way, sheep don't see very well. That's why they keep falling in ditches. I will guide them. I will turn the darkness before them into light. When we're following him, even the darkness in front of us, this tangible darkness, his light is so greater, so stronger, it just lights it all. I will light the darkness. Where were we? And I will turn the darkness before them into light, the rough places into level ground. These are the things I do, and I do not forsake them. Let's end with this verse in John 8:12. It says this, again Jesus spoke to them saying, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. We as his sheep, we follow him. We follow him. We follow him. We see his light and we follow. And as we follow him, every single time, he leads us out of the darkness. And I want to say this, beloved, that every single time we can trust him to lead us out of darkness. We can trust him to lead us out of death. Even when the doctor said we can't do anything for you, it's too late. We are giving you a month, 2 months, 6 months. We can trust him who is life, him who is very life, to lead us out of that darkness. When the bank says, too late for you, it's over. When you're fired from your job, when you lose your business, when your spouse says, I'm done with you, it's over. When all of that happens, we can trust our shepherd to lead us out of this valley of the shadow of death and deliver us into a land of peace, a land of prosperity, a land of health, a land of strength, a land of victory, a land of life. We can trust him who is light to lead us out of the darkness into the light. We do not have to fear. We do not have to be afraid. And we do not have to try to deliver ourselves and to help ourselves. Quit trying to help yourself. You know, the people of the world have this saying that God helps those who help themselves. That's one of the worst things that you can ever say. God does not help those who help themselves. We saw a few weeks earlier that he gives strength to the faint, and to those who have no might, who have no power, who have no strength, he revives them, he gives them power. And they that wait upon the Lord, they shall renew their strength. And we saw that he strengthens us from within. God does not help those who help themselves. No, that's not true. God helps those he loves. That's me and you. And those that surrender themselves to him, to love them, to help them, he helps those. And that's me and you. We surrender to his love. We yield because we are the children that he loves. We are the sheep of his pasture. And so we surrender to him and he leads us out of any trouble we are in. Maybe it's time for you to really think about where you are trying to help yourself and trying to solve your problems and trying to get yourself healed, trying to get yourself delivered, trying to get yourself to be blessed, to be rich, trying to get yourself married, trying to keep your marriage together, trying to keep your children together, and everything is falling apart. Maybe it's time for you to stop doing what you've been doing and relax and trust your shepherd to deliver you. Ask him and listen to how he tells you, what he tells you to do, because he leads you. You ask him. You go in prayer and ask him, Lord, what do I do? What do I do? What would you have me do now? And the shepherd will lead you. He will say, follow me in this way. Follow me in this way. Follow me in this direction. Let's do this. Let's call so this person. Let's talk to this person. Let's do this. You say this. You do this. And the shepherd will lead you out of the valley of the shadow of death. We can trust him to do that every single time. Every single time we can trust him to lead us. We can trust our shepherd. Glory be to God. And I want to end this by reminding us of something I've mentioned, and let me say it again. Whenever we're in a situation, how do we know that we're not looking at it God's way? It is when we don't have a solution, or when we have one or two options only. Anytime you add that only, this is the only way I can come through this, this is the only way this can be done, you're not looking at it God's way. But God is experienced enough to have a million ways to deliver you. God is powerful enough to have a million ways to deliver you. And God has been around, he's wise enough because he has been around for so long. God is wise enough to have a billion ways to deliver you. Right now, there are people in your situation that God is delivering right now. And right now, there are millions of people all over the world that have been exactly where you are, and God has delivered them. You are not the first one, and you're not the last one. And God, he is still God. He has not fallen off his throne because of your situation. We can trust him. We can depend on him because he's the good shepherd who, even though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, he leads us. We walk through it. And David said, I shall fear no evil. Why? Because you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. We'll come back to that second part of this verse. Thank you for watching, liking, subscribing. Listen to this again, watch it again, share, do whatever. And we'll be back again soon. You are blessed with all blessings. Kari Shalom.